A community board member has described the council's decision to name 3 lanes around the new Christchurch Performing Arts precinct as Numpty nonsense. Ali Jones says the chosen names, all inspired by birds, disregard the remarkable contributions of people like the late Neil Cox, whose efforts were instrumental in restoring the Isaac Theatre Royal. She has suggested alternatives like, what about McFarlane Gaspy Lane or Noah Marsh Lane? But the council has opted for bird names instead. And Ali Jones now joins me. Good to see you, Ali. How are you?
Kia ora, I'm good, thank you.
So first of all, what are these bird names that the council has chosen, or council staff, should I say?
Well, it also went through the community board, and that's my particular interest. So it's part of the Papanui Innis Central Community Board on which I sit. The birds' names are Pipi Wharuroa Lane, which is the Māori bird name for the shining cuckoo. It's also the name of the piano, so there is a link there with the piano. The second one is the Pihi Pihi Lane, which is the beautiful green bird with the ring around the eye, the silver eye. And Kari Area Lane, which is the New Zealand falcon, which is an endangered bird as well. All beautiful names, but not for performing arts.
You've called this decision disrespectful. Can you elaborate on why? What's so wrong with this, Ali?
Well, one of the issues with road names, Chris, and this has been clear over the years that I've been involved in local government, is that the road naming policy has a very strict direction, if you like, that the names of lanes and streets need to have some link to the area that they are applying to. So there must be some connection with that area. And yes, I've read the report that was put together. And yes, I understand about flitting from one lane to the other and the different textures of plants. So flora and fauna are a key theme in this area. But I don't think that's strong enough. I think that you've got to look at those who spent their lives in performing arts, those who, as you mentioned, the late Neil Cox, who without his hard work and the team around him, we wouldn't have the Isaac Theatre Royal. Noah Marsh is an obvious one. There are many others that I think should at least be on the table, but unfortunately there aren't. And I think it's really disrespectful to the people who worked so hard and who in fact whakapapa back to the performing arts in Christchurch.
You know that I think legally, or at least strategically, the Christchurch City Council staff must consult a local Māori consultation organisation that has first dibs, if you like, on names or place names of Christchurch.
Well, I think that we need to reflect, the many cultures that are in Christchurch. And I've got to be careful here because I don't want to come across sounding like David Seymour. But I think that, we've got a growing Indian population in Christchurch as well. As I said, these names are beautiful. The bird names, the Māori names. Look, if these names were bird names in Welsh or French or Fijian, I would still be disappointed with them in that they don't respect or pay regard to the people who have gone before and been a key part of the performing arts sector. Of course we need to speak to tangata whenua. That is part of our obligation as a treaty partner, but that shouldn't mean to the exclusion of, and I think we need to remember that.
You're probably aware that some people will probably accuse you of being a racist because the names are Māori. What do you say to that?
Well, look, I've already had that, and I'd like to speak to those people because they're tedious arguments, actually. I think someone posted on LinkedIn when I raised this issue that the board members that voted against the Māori bird names, the te reo bird names, don't like te reo words. I mean, for goodness sake, if people want to engage in a conversation, a robust discussion that shows some common sense and intelligence, bring it on. But I'm not playing that game.
Pauline Cotter has suggested a compromise, which was perhaps two. I mean, that sounded quite reasonable. Well, what was her compromise?
Yeah, she was really positive in that meeting, and I was pleased to see that at least someone around the board, Victoria Henstock, seconded my suggestion that we revisit all of the names. But Pauline suggested that we keep Pipi Wharuroa, and that was primarily because it's already underway, I understand. I think there's some signage that has already been produced or in the process of being produced. And Pauline suggested that we kept that one but put the other two on the table for discussion. And she said at the board, how do you feel about that, Ali, as a compromise? And I said, yeah, I think that works, but nope, not around the rest of the table.
I think I saw one person somewhere commenting, suggesting that the names reflect perhaps if it was an Avery, no problems, but it's not really the names for a performing arts precinct. And, to be fair, there are some wonderful historic actors and performers that have gone before us that perhaps could have been looked at. So where to from now? This is a done deal though, isn't it?
Oh, unfortunately, it is. I would really love to think that we could revisit this, but it's been passed by the board. The decision has been made. It's just a shame that people like Yvette Bromley, who started the Court Theatre, the Court Theatre's moving back into the central city next year, as you'll know. And there are others. I'm not just, suggesting McPhail Gadsby and Nio Marsh. There are many, many others that should have been considered. But yes, Chris, the decision has been made, and this is what they will be.
Let's move on to Cranford Street now, because that was quite a big contentious decision made last week. A bus lane is going in despite expert advice from council staff and strong opposition from residents. What's your take on this?
Again, I was really disappointed. It seemed to be a bit of a block voting situation around the community board. When it went to council, it basically removed the option of a clearway, a peak hour clearway, because that isn't actually part of the City Council's designation. I won't go into details there, but it was well done by those around the table that didn't want a vehicle clearway. Let me just say that. It was strategic and disappointing, because it goes against what the majority wanted, and not the overwhelming majority. There's been a lot of commentary from my colleagues around the board. A lot of it has been incorrect. No one ever said there was an overwhelming majority. No one ever said it was a vote, and I've heard that comment a lot as well. This isn't about consultation being a vote. It is about paying due regard to what people want, what the majority want. And I'm not talking about pages and pages of pro forma, submissions being put in by lobby groups, because that happens too. These were people who live in this area. These were people who use this road, who have children and families here, and they took the time to submit. And the whole point with the City Council's ratings at the moment is that, does the council listen to us? Has got one of the lowest ratings. This is not going to help that. We've had 3 years of a bus lane down there. It has achieved nothing. And so we're doing the same thing. We could have had 3 to 5 years window of reduced congestion down Cranford Street, which is what the experts said, and use that 3 to 5 years as an opportunity to actually make some real difference. Now, whether that's pedestrian walkovers, whether it's making sure we have enforcement there from the police rather than going, if they've got time, making sure that we've got pedestrian barriers around the traffic lights, making sure we've got a decent public transport system. There were many options we could have looked at and put in place over that 3 to 5 years. So it's a missed opportunity, and I'm sad. I'm sad for the community.
Some councillors and board members often claim their decisions are based on evidence and expert advice. In this case, though, it doesn't seem to have been that approach. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, that seems slightly hypocritical, doesn't it?
Well, it's perplexing. I was really bemused by that. I don't like this kind of selective applying of rationale, to decisions. The bottom line here was, and I've read every report, I've read all of the submissions. I printed everything out. I paid for the printing out myself so that I could see all of that stuff and write notes on it. And when you've got expert opinions saying that if we put a vehicle clearway down there, it will ease congestion for 3 to 5 years, and that putting a permanent bus lane in there won't make much difference, if any. Look at the last 3 years. And you've got the community, the majority of whom are wanting the same thing. And then you've got elected members around a board going, I don't think so. That's worrying. That's really concerning. So I was really disappointed, Chris. And yes, perhaps it is a bit hypocritical.
Community Board Member Ali Jones, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.